20 years ago, after extraterrestrial monsters invaded Earth, the countdown to humanity's destruction began. A sea of flames engulfed the city with dragon-like monsters flying above it. Significant warriors decided to stand against them. Amongst them was the Dragon Emperor, Kabna. A handful of warriors, having decided to burn themselves for humanity, stood against an army led by the ruler of the extraterrestrials. The ruler of the extraterrestrials starts chanting out a spell, floating above the sea of flames. Finishing his chant, he opens his mouth and a dark red energy starts to gather in between his teeth. The ruler finally releases the energy, demolishing everything in its path. The energy beam burns along the ground in a straight line. A man rushes out from smoke, cursing at the ruler. This man is Lee Do-hyuk. Rushing towards the ruler, a person stops him. That person is Kabna. He is gravely injured, losing an arm after that energy blast. With two other people standing behind Kabna and Do-hyuk, Kabna says that the ruler is impossible to fight against with humanity's current strength, and only one option is left for them. A woman standing behind them pulls out a stone. It is the stone of temporal regression, the last hope of humanity after 20 years of war. Kabna explains how only one person can use the stone. Kabna says that the person to regress back has to be Lee Do-hyuk, which catches him off guard with Kabna's sudden decision. The other man remarks that if it's Do-hyuk, the greatest genius hunter in history, then he can do it. Following him, with tears in her eyes, the woman presents the stone to Do-hyuk. With gritted teeth, Do-hyuk weakly agrees to it. The stone activates, floating over his hands while sparking out purple energy threads. The stone rises higher, shining purple brighter. Suddenly, a small purple beam pierces Do-hyuk through his chest. The stone shines brightly over the sea of flames like a star. Do-hyuk lies on the woman's lap with a purple-colored hole in his chest, right where his heart should be at. Smirking through pain, Kabna says how Do-hyuk will have to handle all the hardships alone from now on. The woman speaks up that there's one thing, and that is to put up a last fight against the extraterrestrial ruler. Agreeing with her, they charge at him, into their final battle. Do-hyuk wakes up in a small apartment room, half asleep, surprised that he succeeded in regressing, thanking God for regressing him back to the perfect time. He looks at himself, realizing he needs to train his body and gather supplies to survive the outbreak. Putting his coat on, with a determined look in his eyes, he decides that this time he'll awaken along with the first outbreak. 7 months later at Bukhan Mountain, bulked-up Do-hyuk stands in front of a huge earth wall. With a steel crowbar in his hands, Do-hyuk thinks to himself, though his current body is nothing compared to his peak, but it does meet the minimum requirements. Standing there, he thinks to himself that a wormhole will open on the rock in front of him, leading to the release of an immense surge of mana. Like a baptism, it'll forcibly unlock the human body, engraving an awakening circuit for the passage of mana. Tightening his grip on the steel crowbar, he thinks to himself the problem would be the scouting forces that'll appear out of the wormhole, and in case of Korea, it's going to be giant ants and quad cockroaches. Remembering how weak they are compared to his prime, but currently for newly awakened hunters, even 6 would struggle to just defeat one. Clenching his fists, he starts counting down from 5, hoping with his experience he'd be able to handle them. In a punching stance, he finishes counting down. He rushes towards the earth wall. He freezes in his tracks, confused as nothing happened. Confused, he reassures himself that an error is possible and decides to wait a little bit longer. And so, night fell. 10 hours have gone by. Do-hyuk kneeling in the raining curses about what's going on. Clenching his fist and gripping on the steel crowbar tighter, he reassures himself of having gotten the date wrong and decides to come again tomorrow. Eventually, tomorrow turned into a week. Hikers passing by suggested that he go back home. And eventually a month has passed, and Do-hyuk earned the nickname of Stone Buddha of Bukhan Mountain, with small plants starting to grow out of him. And soon half a year passed away. Do-hyuk appeared on news as a monk who's been meditating for half a year on Bukhan Mountain. Yet the world remained unbelievably peaceful. 3 months later, at a construction site working there was Do-hyuk. He became a manual labor. Remembering his past life, known by many names, having earned countless titles, was Do-hyuk. Yet now, that exact same Do-hyuk after regressing is being called a laborer. Regardless, for the past 6 months the outbreak never happened. No alien species, no awakened individuals, none existed in this current world. Having no other choice but to accept it, this Earth is different from the one Do-hyuk knew. Do-hyuk never thought he'd end up in a parallel universe. Walking through the streets, Do-hyuk thinks to himself that it's great news for the people of this world that the outbreak never happened. Realizing all the struggles he went through with his comrades, though they were all in vain, looking at the peaceful world in front of his eyes, he decides that's how it should be. Feeling the warm sunlight falling over him, he thinks maybe he can enjoy this peace, be it for a little while. Hearing his phone ring, he takes it out of his pocket to see. His face turns pale after reading the notification. It's about his overdue loans and various deposits he needs to make. A little while later in the Lee household, in an irritated tone, Do-hyuk's younger sister Lee Jian asks Do-hyuk about what he's been up to lately. Jian, in an annoyed look on her face, lectures Do-hyuk about all the weird stuff he's been buying for the past year. Holding his collar, cornering him, Jian starts lecturing him about what happened a year ago, then him spending millions hoarding supplies, about how worried their parents were for him to be acting like that. Cornered, Do-hyuk thinks to himself that he didn't consider the world ending up this perfectly either. Do-hyuk goes into a flashback, sitting around a bonfire with Kabna. He remembers their plan on what to do first after regressing. First to borrow as much money as possible from whatever source is available to prepare for the outbreak. Do-hyuk follows on what to do next. With a carefree grin, Kabna replies nonchalantly as to who cares about what comes after. Kabna continues that once the outbreak happens, with the world falling apart, who'd even go around collecting debts? But the world didn't end, and Do-hyuk can't go around ignoring all the money he borrowed. With a crying-like look on his face, he remains there as his sister continues to lecture him. Letting go of him, she reminds him how he's even doing manual labor to pay off his debt. She then offers to pay him if he helps with her streaming. Jian tells him how she needs to beat a 2-player game this time, and how she needs Do-hyuk's help to accomplish that, to which Do-hyuk carefully listens. Do-hyuk replies that he has never played a game before. Jian reminds Do-hyuk about how good he always was at sports and stuff, and besides how she doesn't have anyone else to ask. Getting up, questioning how much money could be even made from streaming, to which Jian replies, 15 million won. Do-hyuk was shocked to hear that he could earn such an amount. With light shining from behind Jian, she exclaims that even though her channel's been only running for a few months, she is already making 15 million won a month, and that she's willing to give him half of that. And so Do-hyuk decided to join his sister, currently all geared up, ready to dive into the game. And so they dive in. They were playing the game called It Kills 2, a super hardcore combat, adventure, horror game infamous for being the graveyard of newbies. They both stood against a haunted mansion, lightning falling down behind it creating an atmosphere of terror, and so the game begins. Jian sticks close to Do-hyuk, scared of the sudden change in atmosphere provided by the game. Shivering from terror, Jian continues to hold on to Do-hyuk, while Do-hyuk thinks to himself that a house like that scary mansion is cozy enough for a good sleep. Slowly walking through the entrance, they continue walking towards the stairs leading to the main door. After Do-hyuk puts his leg on a single staircase, an in-game notification suddenly pops up which scares Jian enough to hide behind Do-hyuk. Do-hyuk, playing a game for the first time. Unable to understand the notification, he slides it, skipping the tutorial. Terrified, Jian pulls on Do-hyuk's hair and cheek, annoyed by him skipping the tutorial with the game being difficult enough as it is. Laughing idiotically, Do-hyuk says that he acted without thinking. Pissed at Do-hyuk, Jian simply blames herself for trusting a newbie like Do-hyuk. Working up a smile to charm her viewers, Jian turns and asks her viewers to give them some tips on the game, while Do-hyuk, standing in the back, notices something. Looking at the comments, with viewers providing helpful tips, Jian lights up a bit while Do-hyuk keeps looking at something glowing. In-game notification window pops up, with Do-hyuk choosing reality level difficulty. Hearing that through the notification window, Jian freezes up. Angry and scared, Jian leaps and grabs Do-hyuk by his shirt. She curses at him for what he just did. Confused, Do-hyuk replies that he was just checking the doorknob and something strange then just popped up. Crouching in disbelief, speaks up that the amount bet on first clear is already over 1 million won, while Do-hyuk stands behind her with a face that depicts regret at what he accidentally did. After getting a high pay order from her viewers, Jian and Do-hyuk feel much more encouraged now and decide to stop despairing. With a Chad-like expression, Do-hyuk opens the door to the haunted mansion. Suddenly, a dead body appears hanging upside down in front of them, making Jian scream from the sudden jump scare as she clings onto Do-hyuk. The viewers suggest they check behind the hanging corpse, scared and unable to make a move. Jian tells Do-hyuk to do it, finding an axe and a pistol from the corpse. Do-hyuk decides to keep the axe while handing the pistol to Jian, to which she replies about not being confident with guns. Do-hyuk tells her that she'll have to hit the enemies directly if she decides on the axe. Terrified of doing that, she decides to keep the gun. Suddenly, a swarm of monsters jump down the stairs, surprising Jian and Do-hyuk in their tracks. These monsters are called the neck huggers. Putting her hands over her ears, Jian, hopeless and scared, jumps back. Do-hyuk charges forward towards the monsters, attacking them, while Jian falls to the floor with her hands still over her ears. Gritting his teeth, Do-hyuk grabs onto and then slashes through a neck hugger's blade-like hand. With quick movement, he pierces the neck hugger through its mouth with its own blade-like hand. After defeating one neck hugger, piercing through its mouth with its own blade-like hand, Do-hyuk stood over it as other neck huggers dashed towards Do-hyuk. Gritting his teeth with veins popping from his neck, he decides to make a dash. Do-hyuk dashes towards the neck-huggers as they run towards him, dashing forward while cutting through them like paper. Their blood splatter over Do-hyuk's hand and face. Letting out a sigh of relief, he jerks the blood off his axe after he single-handedly cut through those neck-huggers. With his face covered in blood, Do-hyuk turns back looking grim, speaking to Jeon that she must have been really surprised by Do-hyuk's actions. Scared by his grim-looking face covered in blood, she screams and perfectly shoots Do-hyuk right in the middle of his forehead. She then runs towards him, scared, apologizing for shooting him, and with Do-hyuk dying, their mission fails. Black Oak, a streamer specializing in horror games, finds it unbelievable how easily Do-hyuk defeated those neck-huggers in reality mode. He was left astounded seeing Do-hyuk take down 4 neck-huggers with just an axe. Do-hyuk and Jeon respawn at the main door. Jeon awkwardly apologizes for shooting Do-hyuk, while he just stands there really pissed. Do-hyuk turns to Jeon and reassures her that it's okay, that it was a mistake just then. Gritting his teeth in anger, he presses finger on her temple and says how he shouldn't have given an idiot like her a gun. Jeon, knowing her fault, just apologizes without any resistance. Without speaking any further, Do-hyuk warns her that there's going to be no next time for her, and they are going to go faster this time, saying that he advances. Slicing through the neck-huggers like paper, all while he holds Jeon in one hand, he advances forward. Jeon was left speechless how Do-hyuk handled them all by himself. Do-hyuk speaks how they should divide roles for the next chapter of the game. Do-hyuk continues that he'll take care of firearms, combat, item farming, and scouting, to which Jeon asks what she's going to do. With a pissed-off expression, Do-hyuk straightforwards tells Jeon to simply just cheer on him from the back. Jeon replies, how can she just cheer on when it's her replies? Ignoring her rants, Do-hyuk steps forward. Opening up the door, Do-hyuk stands at the entrance as he notices something in front of him. A huge muscular monster covered in blood emanating a green poison-like aura around his body stands there. This monster is Brute. It kills Two's mid-boss. Scared as hell, Jeon pushes Do-hyuk forward, shouting it's out. Caught off balance by that push, as Do-hyuk is about to fall, the monster charges forward towards them, ready to punch. Do-hyuk skillfully balances himself back with his hand right below the monster, near its leg. In that position, Do-hyuk's sweep kicks the monster leg, making it lose balance and fall forward. As the monster falls on its face, Do-hyuk jumps on the monster. He holds the axe up in his hands, about to swing it down. Calling it a piece of cake, he swings down his axe, stabbing the monster's skin. After the axe hits the monster's neck, Do-hyuk realizes that this monster has a thick skin, and that his swing was too shallow. Seeing how it didn't work, Do-hyuk slightly jumps and kicks down on the axe all the way through its neck. With Do-hyuk still on the monster, it falls to the floor with a loud noise that surprises Jeon. Jeon was astonished at what she just witnessed. Seeing the viewer's comments on how it isn't that easy taking down a brute, Do-hyuk simply replies with how easy it was to him. Viewers suspect Do-hyuk of being a veteran and ask him to show his status window, while Jeon simply just says that Do-hyuk really is a beginner. With the viewers asking for it, Do-hyuk opens up his status window for them to see. The status window shows how long he has played the game. The viewers find it hard to believe that Do-hyuk's status is 134. While it's 125 for a pro-level player, 140 being the human limit, and 147 being the world record holder, Do-hyuk just stands there expressionless. Looking at his detailed stats, Do-hyuk thinks to himself that training for the apocalypse is finally coming handy, while Jeon, standing behind him, thinks how the loan sharks exploited him for his body to get that good. With a crying expression, Jeon continues if they even fed him there and says that she'll treat him better from now. Suddenly, Black Oak makes a donation, which leads both Do-hyuk and Jeon to look up at the notification window. A viewer speaks up how Black Oak was the first person who discovered the hidden route by killing Brute, else the story was meant to progress with Brute capturing the player. The viewer continues how it took 7 attempts for Black Oak to barely clear it. Do-hyuk says that if you're not good at gaming, that stuff can happen. Surprised by his comment, Black Oak laughs nervously. Having pre-planned on just watching them from the sidelines, Black Oak changes his mind on how he might have to turn this into content. Black Oak asks them if he can set up a mission for them, saying that he wants to stream it. Jeon follows, asking what kind of mission. The mission asks them to clear the game using only the hand axe, and if they clear it within the given condition, he'll reward them with 1,000,000 won. In return, he wants to stream it. Jeon jumps in excitement at the offer, while Do-hyuk simply just gives a thumbs up. Other viewers speak up on how different sorts of monsters appear, and to clear them with just a hand axe is basically asking not to clear it at all. Realizing that maybe he demanded a bit too much, Black Oak decides to add in a steel crowbar or a chainsaw instead. Before Black Oak changes the conditions, Do-hyuk, wanting to accept the hand axe mission, accidentally pressed the success button for accepting the mission. Without anything to say for himself, he holds Jeon in one hand and barges through another door. A huge, man-like monster with a chainsaw for its right hand emerges in front of them, This monster is a grande, the second mid-boss monster. It rips players apart at a high speed. Looking at the monster that just appeared, Black Oak thinks to himself, even getting brushed up against that chainsaw will reduce a player HP to near death, and its pattern changes are complex, but it's possible to draw aggro with the different advanced bullets. While one player draws the aggro, another player can focus on its weak points. Doing that back and forth is an official strategy which is necessary for a two-person party to defeat a grande. Black Oak comments on Do Hyuk's insane playstyle as he slides in between a grande's legs, slicing one leg with his hand axe. Balancing himself after that slide, Do Hyuk speaks to himself that back in the day, if they didn't have weapons, they'd fight with their teeth if needed. Holding the axe above his chest, he continues speaking to himself how he was the best when it came to hunting monsters. While the monster is about to swing his chainsaw, Do Hyuk speaks to himself, comparing his experience as a hunter and the strategies from Full Dive. Crouching back, dodging the chainsaw, he continues how they are just kids' warplay strategies. Pulling himself back up from the crouching position, he slashes through the monster's thigh, speaking to himself how he just needs to break its source of mobility to counter the fast attacks. He then gets back up, then kicks the monster's, messing up its center of balance, making it fly back with his kick. Do Hyuk then dashes forward, aiming to strike at every humanoid monster's weakness, their neck. As he gets to swing his axe, the monster puts its arm, taking the swing with its big muscular arm, making it stuck in between its muscles. The monster then swings his chainsaw arm down at Do Hyuk, while John calls out to him behind, with worry showing on her face. As the monster swings its chainsaw arm, Do Hyuk jumps up and dodges it. Coming down with a huge force, he lands on the chainsaw, breaking it. Gritting his teeth, Do Hyuk says, "If the enemy's defense gets stronger, then all you need to do is break through with an even stronger attack." Following his words, he swings forwards, cutting through its hand and neck in a single strike. John leaps forward, putting her hands up in the air, shimmering brightly on how they won. A viewer asks Do Hyuk how he did that. Do Hyuk says that first, to analyze their footing axis and muscle movements, target the leg as they concentrate strength during an attack. That way they can seal its speed. Then read the texture of their muscles, letting oneself to predict their attack timing and direction. After that, dodge them like he did earlier, then follow up with a powerful strike. He also comments on how easy it is to dodge a bullet by watching the muzzle direction, and if that's not possible, then block it with an axe. Jian notices a path leading to somewhere and informs Do Hyuk of it. Walking down the stairs, Do Hyuk happily chats with the viewers, while Jian finds another hand axe and informs Do Hyuk of it. After taking the axe from Jian, Do Hyuk starts boasting how he could take down so many monsters wielding dual axes. Jian suddenly cuts his speech short, telling him to look behind him. They stand in front of a horde of enhanced zombies charging towards them. Do Hyuk dashes into the horde, swinging his dual axes, slashing through the enhanced zombies like paper. He dashes through them, cutting them down skillfully, making it seem too easy. On seeing the viewers' comments on how he's easily cutting through them, he demonstrates what he had earlier told them: dodge, then follow with a powerful strike. Seeing the viewers' comments, while gritting his teeth, Do Hyuk decides to put in a bit more effort to it. Combining two skills, whirlwind and charge, he leaps forward, slicing through the enhanced zombies. Spinning like a whirlwind, killing the zombies, he stops and starts to vomit from spinning too much. Wiping his mouth, he reads a comment from a viewer recommending him to rather play Rise of Valhalla, to which he asks if that's another game or so. Jian calls out to Do Hyuk with a blood-soaked diary in her hand. She says that she found a clue about the monster outbreak serum. She explains the content. It says that a mutant strain is responsible for creating all variants, starting from neck-huggers to zombies. She then reminds him of the trailer near the house they saw before coming here. She continues that there's a serum that can cure this strain. Closing the diary, all motivated, John says that they just need to loot it and spray it through the mansion's sprinkler system. Once exposed to the serum, the mutants will all weaken at once. Following Jian, the viewers say the same thing about how it can get brutal without the serum. Do Hyuk replies that they should give it a shot. Jean, afraid, says what if they fail, to which Do Hyuk remarks that going all the way to get the serum is a hassle. Black Oak issues a 100,000 won challenge, to which both Do Hyuk and Jian, putting up brave faces, reply as if they're ready to do it. With a whir-like sound, the ground opens up. Do Hyuk remarks that maybe they need to go down to start with the next chapter. With Jian piggyback riding Do Hyuk, he jumps in through the opening on the floor. Do Hyuk lands heroically with John on his back, splashing away the water beneath him. A notification pops up welcoming them to the sewer labyrinth. Entering a place like this makes Do Hyuk nostalgic, how he used to live underground in the sewers, hiding from the extraterrestrials, while Jian feels sick from the foul smell in the sewers. Seeing a rat running across in front of them, Do-hyuk acts delighted, seeing it remembering how good sewer rat broth soup tastes, while Jin screams seeing a rat. Suddenly, their attention is drawn towards the giant rats running towards them in the sewer. Delighted, seeing giant rats, Do-hyuk happily leaps towards them. Seeing Do-hyuk's expression as he dashes towards a rat, the rat flinches in its tracks. Glimmering in ecstasy, Do-hyuk cuts through them like holding on to rat hind leg meat with his tongue sticking out. Holding out the meat to his mouth about to take a bite, John, scared and trembling, calls him out as to why he's trying to eat it. As Do-hyuk was about to take a bite, large rubbles flew towards him, taking the rat meat with them as they passed by Do-hyuk. Two disgusting-looking monsters with tentacles for one arm appear growling. They are called Chaos, a late-game boss monster known for its tentacle arms and outstanding regeneration. Surprised by the appearance of two Chaos, John calls out to Do-hyuk to run. The two Chaos monsters look shocked as how Do-hyuk just ignores them and continues his search for the rat meat in the sewage water. With tears welling in his eyes from losing the rat meat, Do-hyuk turns to face the Chaos monsters with anger, vowing to hunt them. The two monsters rush towards Do-hyuk, attacking him, to which he leaps backward and dodges, while John acts irritated because of all the events happening to them since the beginning. Black Oak says that in reality mode, the difficulty level depends on the player's stats, and that Do-hyuk's stats far exceeds the game's rank limit. Getting hit by a punch from a Chaos monster, Do-hyuk flies back, crashing into a wall while blocking it. Viewers debate that even if it's because of Do-hyuk's stats, still spawning two boss monsters is really stretching it, while Do-hyuk continues to dodge the attacks. Enjoying the fight against strong enemies, Do-hyuk suddenly dashes forward, cutting off their tentacles easily as ever. From where the monster's tentacles got cut off, new tentacles started to emerge from there. One of the Chaos monsters releases a poison gas through its mouth, with a green-colored skull appearing over Jian's head, depicting that she's poisoned. She informs Do-hyuk that they have only 10 minutes left before their health bar reaches 0. Suddenly, a Chaos monster attacks Do-hyuk with a punch, which Do-hyuk dodges by ducking. Jumping forward, Do-hyuk cuts through a Chaos monster's arms. Slashing through the monster's thigh and neck, he says that even if they continue to regenerate, he's going to keep breaking them till they can't regenerate anymore. Regenerating its cut-off head, arm, and thigh, it rushes back towards Do-hyuk, while the other monster decides to attack John. The Chaos monster jumps up at Do-hyuk, extending his tentacled arm. Suddenly, a viewer informs Do-hyuk that unless their heart is destroyed, those monsters will keep regenerating endlessly. Knowing the vital information, Do-hyuk dashes forward towards the monster, slashing at his arm. As the monster attacks Do-hyuk, he dodges, letting the attack hit the other Chaos monster, piercing its heart. The remaining Chaos monster growls in fury. Do-hyuk jumps and hits its head with his hand axe. With agile movement, Do-hyuk makes a vertical downward slash, slashing through its heart in one go. Slashing through its heart, the Chaos monster, defeated, falls down as Do-hyuk heroically stands over its corpse, completing his mission. John stands there at the back, shocked at Do-hyuk's amazing performance. With a notification window popping up saying that the Chaos mission has been cleared, John turns with glimmering eyes, asking the viewers that they should donate something after witnessing such an incredible gameplay. John expresses her gratitude to the viewers for their donations, while looking at the donation notifications, while Do-hyuk just looks at her, thinking just how much she would have made today. John turns to Do-hyuk, asking him if that's all or if they're going to keep going further. Do-hyuk remarks that it's been 8 hours since they started playing, and that they should call it a day and rest up a bit. The viewers ask him to at least play for 18 hours, to which Do-hyuk says that this being his first time in VR, he's feeling a little motion sick after playing for so long. They then finally bid farewell to the viewers, with Do-hyuk saying that he'll return to finish it the next time. Viewers talk amongst themselves about what they just witnessed, the beginning of a legend. They then turn to Black Oak, asking him what he thinks about what just happened. Surprised like everyone else, he spoke mysteriously. Just what is that guy? All while thinking to himself. He remarks that if Do-hyuk's physical skills are this insane in here, then just how amazing he'd be in other games, and that if he were to play another game it would end up being an absolute smash hit. Standing up from this chair with a determined look on his face, he decides he needs to recruit him onto his side. Both surprised and impressed by her brother's outstanding playstyle while mimicking his in-game character with a pan in her hands, Jian showers Do-hyuk with praise, while Do-hyuk sitting at the back with a worried expression on his face. Do-hyuk finally speaks up and tells Jian to cut it out before she accidentally hits him with the pan, following that this is why she can't get a boyfriend. With tears falling from her eyes and anger building up on her face, holding the pan up in a striking position, Jian exclaims how hot of a girl she is and has dated tons of guys, making fun of her. Do-hyuk says that imaginary relationships don't count. Ignoring his comment, John asks him about how he played like that earlier, saying how he looked like some crazy guy on steroids. As a simpleton he is. Do-hyuk says that just did it and it worked, making Jean sneer, calling it disgusting natural talent. John remembers how ridiculously athletic Do-hyuk was since a child, following with a thought that only if weren't for a fortune-teller back then. A crazy-looking woman speaking at the top of her lungs about how Do-hyuk has the fate to save the world. Having received that prophecy, their parents, shocked, question that their idiot-looking son, Do-hyuk, will save the world while pointing at him. Jian then continues how their parents took that too seriously, despite the desperate pleas of her PE teacher throughout school. With the PE teacher telling them about Do-hyuk's talents lying in sports, they refuse to believe that knowing the prophecy, while Do-hyuk stands there holding a book in his hands, his mother tells his father to get the PE teacher out of there as his father follows through with her. Do-hyuk sits there on the couch, scratching underneath his shirt, while looking at him. She thinks about how much their parents regretted not listening to that teacher back then. Letting out a sigh, she tells Do-hyuk that with things turning out the way they have, he should start proper streaming. Pointing at himself, Do-hyuk questioned Jian that he should start streaming with a confused look on his face. Holding up her phone in her hand, she speaks of the recent events as how the viewers reacted towards Do-hyuk, and that he can get insanely popular just by showing his gameplay without having to converse with the viewers. With a serious look on his face, Do-hyuk remembers the thrill he felt while playing the game, which he hadn't felt in a long time. Remembering his past life before his regression, how he spent over a decade constantly fighting, how he needed to kill just one more alien species every day just to survive through it. While now, all he does is work. Go to construction sites with no stimulation whatsoever, continuously dying of boredom from living like that. The VR battle finally gave him that thrill his life has been missing since his regression. Letting out a content sigh, smiling, looking at his fist, he says how fun it was. With sparkly eyes full of hope, Jian asks if Do-hyuk's finally agreeing to stream. Do-hyuk simply replies that he needs to pay off his debt. He adds on that he needs to think about this a bit more. Jian, annoyed by Do-hyuk's indecisiveness, not giving a proper answer, she tells him about how he has earned over 3 million won by simply doing the game missions today, including the bonus from Black Oak, and that's all the more reason for him to stream more. Both surprised and shocked by how he made over 3 million won in one day, he realizes that he can pay off his loan debt in no time this way. Acting like her servant, holding up a platter full of fruits to John, Do-hyuk says that he'll trust his little sister's credit card to help him buy a capsule. Graciously, John agrees to buy Do-hyuk a capsule. Delighted by it, Do-hyuk dances and claps as John goes on to buy him a capsule. While John's just about to buy the capsule, suddenly a message pops up. Surprised by the message, John asks Do-hyuk to come look at it. Worriedly, Do-hyuk asks if all the capsules are sold out. She turns around and shows the chat screen to Do-hyuk, saying that Black Oak sent her a DM. Do-hyuk soon recognizes the guy. She continues on how the famous game streamer Black Oak wants to collaborate with Do-hyuk, to which Do-hyuk acts surprised. Do-hyuk straightforward denies it, pissing off Jian. Putting her hand on his shoulder, John questions him as to why not. Then she says that just one collaboration with him, Black Oak, will skyrocket Do-hyuk's viewers. Covering up his body with his hands while crying dramatically, Do-hyuk questions about using a capsule as a bait to make him collaborate with a guy. He continues, though he respects his, Black Oak's, gender identity, but he, Do-hyuk, likes women. Do-hyuk continues to cry dramatically as he curses Jian and accuses her of being so obsessed with viewers that she'd even sacrifice her own brother's purity. Standing behind Do-hyuk, Jian, clearly pissed off and annoyed by Do-hyuk's actions, thinks if she should just kill him. The next day, Do-hyuk's capsule gets delivered and installed. Faces covered in bruises. Do-hyuk thinks to himself what an idiot he is for misunderstanding what type of collab Black Oak asked for. Do-hyuk then enters his room, closing the door behind him, and says, having decided to stream, it's about time he does it for real. He gets inside his capsule. It's a high-end capsule that Jian bought for Do-hyuk with a 12-month installment plan through her credit card. She tells him that a capsule like this necessary for future streaming, after adding some convenience features. The total came to 20 million won. Do-hyuk thinks to himself that even though they've bickered a lot as kids, Jian's got a soft heart. With newfound determination, he decides he'll make tons of money with this and buy Jian lots of presents. After starting up, a screen shows up with many different games on it. Do-hyuk decides that this time he wants to try playing game mode instead of reality mode. He decides to pick up a game where he can utilize near superhuman specs so that he can satisfy the craving that It Kills 2 couldn't fulfill. Broke as hell, he decides to go for one of the cheapest games. he soon finds a game that catches his eye. He remembers having played that exact game as a kid. This game is called Ultimate Fighter FD. He was surprised as well as excited seeing that this game has a full dive version now. Seeing how cheap it was, only $20, he decides to buy it. A notification pops up saying that the purchase is complete and that he's entering the game lobby. Another notification pops up asking him to set a nickname. He decides on using his old nickname. I guess that's it. Then a notification pops up saying that the nickname has been set. He shouts out that it's time he checks his physical status. He follows with a punch to the floor right beneath him. He activates a skill called Explosive Fist, shattering the floor beneath him in a single punch. He then activates another skill called Rapid Strikes, moving really fast, leaving the afterimage of his previous actions behind. Then he activates another skill called Wolf Fang. With a rapid swing of his arm, he shoots out a horizontal slash from his hands, damaging the pillars in front of him. Letting out a sigh, he asks himself if that is the max capability in-game mode. Looking at his fist, he says that even though it's not at the level of being called superhuman, it's still beyond the limits of a human. Standing there, he talks to himself that this is probably the highest level an average person can handle. Any faster than this, and normal perception wouldn't be able to keep up. Looking up in excitement, now that he's warmed up, it's about time for a real match. He then asks the computer to search up a ranked game for him. A notification window pops up saying that he doesn't meet the level requirements for a ranked matchmaking. He suddenly remembers that there was a rule like that. He then asks the computer to search for a public room instead. The computer starts searching for a public room. While that goes on, Do-hyuk decides to pick up a character for himself. A girl wearing a kimono slashes through a fighter with her katana, while the viewers shout out to her in excitement. A notification pops up saying that Harang wins. Harang is the person the viewers were shouting out to. She is also known as the Sword Princess. Holding her sword in one hand while giving a wink to the viewers, she says, "Mission complete." Suddenly, a viewer asks who Harang is and why they are so good in ulti-fight. Harang notices the comment and looks up. Then suddenly another viewer asks him how does he not even know who the Sword Princess is. The viewers then explain that Dark Sword Girl, Harang, used to go by the name Sword Princess, and that ulti-fight was once famous enough to have a world championship. As the viewer continues to praise her, she, embarrassed by all the praise, asks him to stop, continuing to say that it's been ages since she quit playing ulti-fight professionally, so it's understandable if everyone wouldn't know her. She adds that the player named Iron Fist is much more popular nowadays, to which the viewers agree. She looks up and asks the computer to find her a ranked room with similar settings to ranked mode. Having found a match, the computer says that the minimum wait time is 9 minutes. Surprised by how long the wait time is, she then asks the wait time for the next game. The computer replies that the wait time would be 12 minutes for the next game. Irritatedly, Harang mentions how that will mess up her stream's pace. Soon after, a viewer suggests to Harang that she could do a public match mission in the meantime, to which she replies that it sounds good, and that the queue to it is slow anyway. Suddenly, a viewer drops a 100,001 mission for her. It says that she has to win 5 consecutive matches in 12 minutes. Harang responds with an awkward smile that they're overestimating her and to cut her some slack. The viewers then mention that since the game's decline only strong, hardcore players remain, making public matches a bit too difficult, and that public matches are exactly the place where the top players bully the beginners. Then the viewers mention how Harang lost to a guy named Batago. Agitatedly, Harang responds that it was because she wasn't using her main character while Batago used his main. Harang then decides to change into her alternate character, and her alternate character's name is as follows: Wanderer Yetter. Sparkling with confidence, Harang announces that this time she'll only use her alternate character, and that she'll show them what real seal clubbing looks like. She then asks the computer to create a public room, 1v1 showdown, ulti-fight beginners only. The background starts to change as the computer starts creating a public room as per Harang's command. Now the background has completely changed. Harang stands on a piece of land in between a sea of lava with her opponent standing right in front of her. The viewers then look at a man standing there in front of Harang with black flames emanating from his fists. They comment saying that it's the Night Warrior, Hoken, the twin-fisted Black Dragon, and that he's platinum rank. Harang, while getting into a fighting stance, thinks to herself that Hoken is a fighter with easy inputs and solid performance, with the controls not being difficult. The performance is good, and also how this character always ranks in the top 3 most popular characters in ulti-fight. Dashing forward, Hoken jumps into the air, gathering the black flames into his right hand. Already having predicted that Hoken will use the black flame strike, she dodges it as he's about to strike her by jumping backwards. While skidding after jumping backwards, she speaks of how close range fight favors martial artists. After gaining a stable foothold, she continues that a mage's best strategy against a martial artist is maintaining distance followed by long-range attack. Then suddenly her staff starts to shine brightly with a red glow. Without any incantations, she idiotically throws her staff while calling it magic staff attack. It then hits Hoken, knocking him off the ground. With his nose broken from Harang's attack, bleeding, Hoken puts his hand on his nose as he complains about her unusual attack and that it was just a simple staff throw. He was suddenly cut short while speaking. Harang suddenly dashes towards Hoken, holding him by his hand with a fierce look in her eyes. Pulling his hand forward with her body weight, she suddenly flips him over while yelling her move, calling it physical therapy magic. With an arrogant grin on her face, she says that the physical therapy magic was actually a setup for her upcoming move, as the activation time for that move is long. With a devilish look on her face, she activates the spell, Meteor Summon, summoning a huge ball of fire above her. Terrified of such a large-scale spell, Hoken, yelling it's beyond him, tries to run. With a satisfied smile on her face, she bids farewell to Hoken. As the meteor hits Hoken, taking him out, he lets out one last scream, cursing the veterans of Ultimate Fighter FD. The match ends with a huge blast on the arena platform, caused by Harang's meteor summon. A notification then pops up announcing that the Dark Sword Girl, Harang, is the winner, followed by the computer restoring the destroyed platform. Eager to complete the 5-win streak mission, Harang asks the computer to summon the next challenger. With a beam of light crashing on the platform, a player's shadow forms in it, showing that another opponent for Harang has been summoned. Harang's next opponent is none other than Do Hyuk, with him having chosen the character Steve. Having just appeared, Do Hyuk decides to warm up a bit by jumping as Harang looks at him speechless at what he's doing. Do Hyuk then crouches and taps on the arena floor, trying to gouge out how tough it is as Harang continues watching him quietly. Do Hyuk looks over the edge of the arena, surprised on seeing the lava around the arena, as Harang stands behind him, questioning whether it's okay to beat up a newbie. With a sly smirk on her face, she says that even if she wants to protect the newbie, she still has to finish her mission, not expecting for a total beginner to show up as her opponent. Putting her staff up in the air in one hand, she commences for the game to start. As the countdown starts for the match, turning on his serious mode, Do Hyuk turns to face his opponent. As the match starts, Do Hyuk dashes forward in no time, appearing right in front of Harang. Dodging his attack, she mocks him how dodging a newbie's charge is a piece of cake for her. After balancing himself, Do Hyuk suddenly appears in front of Harang. Do Hyuk then punches Harang. Do Hyuk continues punching her without a moment's rest, consecutively hitting her face with every punch. With a perfect remark floating over his head, Do Hyuk stands there as Harang lies on the floor spitting blood, defeated. Satisfied with himself, Do Hyuk stands there as Harang's body vanishes as she was defeated. Soon, Harang responds right in front of Do Hyuk with a look of surprise on her face. The viewers start trolling Harang on getting defeated by a total newbie, and to that with a perfect, irritated, Harang challenges Do Hyuk to fight her again. Feeling ashamed of getting defeated by a newbie, she looks up, then shamelessly makes up an excuse that she lost because she let her guard down. She then starts accusing Do Hyuk of being a veteran, trying to pull in her viewers to believe that Do Hyuk is a veteran and was just acting as a newbie then, which Do Hyuk doesn't seem to care much about. She reverts back to her main character, Sword Girl Harang, shouting how she's going to be the one to show a perfect victory this time. The viewers again start trolling her on how she just took out her Sword Girl character right after getting crushed. She starts to get irritated by the actions of her viewers. Seething in anger, spouting fire, she says that if she does it properly, she'll win, while Do Hyuk just stands there looking at her, weirded out by her actions. Harang takes her sword out and mentions how angry she is now. With a serious expression, she says that she's going to turn her serious mode on now. As Do Hyuk looks up at the ready notification floating over his head, Harang thinks at most Do Hyuk is probably an upper diamond or lower master player. She then speaks to herself that Transcendent is the highest rank of Ultimate Fighters, and including her, there are only 100 Transcendents. Remembering Do Hyuk's fighting style, she realizes that it's different from Ulti-Fight, and that it's clear that he's a top-tier player from another game who's just joined Ulti-Fight. As the countdown comes to an end, she dashes forward shouting that she'll show what control truly means. She slashes at Do Hyuk, which he easily dodges by ducking. Pulling his hand, Do Hyuk is ready to punch her. Making rapid movement, she shouts out that she isn't going to fall for the same trick twice. Instead of punching her, Do Hyuk grabs her by her wrist, stopping her in her tracks. Holding onto her wrist, he pulls her forward, messing up her balance while gritting his teeth, ready to punch her. With the punch hitting her in the face, tears start to well up in her eyes. Receiving consecutive punches to her face exactly like in the previous, she ends up getting defeated again. With a perfect remark floating over his head, Do-hyuk stands there as Harang lies on the floor, spitting blood, defeated again. Vanishing and then respawning, she challenges Do-hyuk once again, repeating the process of challenging and getting defeated again and again. Do-hyuk once again comes out victorious, while Harang lies on the ground with bruises all over her face, trembling. Feeling content after a 5-win streak, Do-hyuk turns back as Harang vanishes. Thinking back to his first match, he reviews how the staff character was easy to deal with, and how it got trickier when she switched to the sword character and used a bunch of some weird skills. Looking at his palm, he continues on how he logged into game mode wanting to try some psychic powers, but having skipped the tutorial, he didn't know how to use them. Clenching his fist, thinking to himself, he speaks how it didn't work even after using his old mana sensing abilities. Speaking of how he chose the game mode just to feel his old psychic powers again, he decides that next time he'll definitely do the tutorial. He then notices Harang as she respawns. With an encouraging look on his face, he compliments Harang on her playstyle and asks her about her tier. Clearly agitated for some reason, Harang points her finger at Do-hyuk, moving her mouth, speaking, to which Do-hyuk isn't able to hear anything she's saying. Do-hyuk confusedly asks her what she's saying and that he can't hear her. Thinking to himself, he realizes that maybe she has turned on her communication blocking function to focus on the game, and if that's true, then she won't be able to hear him at all. Harang continues to inaudibly speak. She begins to pull out her sword while trying to provoke Do-hyuk. Surprised, Do-hyuk looks up at the countless incoming revenge requests from Harang. Confused about what to do and that he needs to go back now, he turns back waving at her, deciding that should hurry out and look up how to activate game skills. Harang, confused, continues to speak something inaudibly. Looking back at Harang's mouth movements with a smile, he thinks if she's asking for his nickname to add him as a friend for the next revenge match. Standing confidently in front of Harang, he says his nickname, I guess that's it, to which Harang acts confused. Harang stands there gawking at the notification screens, speechless, as they serially float over her head with Do-hyuk's nickname written on them. She curses at him with tears falling from her eyes. The notification pops up saying that player 2 has logged out as Do-hyuk vanishes. She falls to the ground on her knees, dramatically screaming that she'll definitely find him. The viewers continue to make fun of Harang as she stands there on the arena platform, cursing at Do-hyuk. Totally pissed off by Do-hyuk spitting fire, she yells that how dare he ignore her. A viewer then comes up and explains to Harang that Do-hyuk wasn't exactly ignoring her. He continues that if it's a newly created account, then the initial settings are on mute mode, and maybe he couldn't hear her as he hadn't turned that off, while Harang stands there with an angry look on her listening to the viewer's explanation. Gritting her teeth, she says that there's no way that's possible, and that they all saw it earlier. She then goes into a flashback of the last match, where Harang activates her signature skill, Dance of Death, which depicts many after-images of Harang swinging her sword at Do-hyuk, striking and slashing through his shirt. Do-hyuk skillfully dodges her attacks while Harang continues speaking through the flashback that a beginner dodges her attacks, even taking her, Harang, down after she activated Dance of Death. She continues that it's not possible for a total newbie to defeat her in a single hit, remembering how monstrous Do-hyuk looked after taking her down. In the flashback, Harang respawns in a heroic pose as Do-hyuk stands in front of her, overestimating herself. She continues says that guy must be an ex-pro who came to specifically target her, or that he's a former top-tier UF player from its golden age. She continues. Or maybe that he's a current pro hiding his identity. A viewer then comments asking if it is Anatol, which catches Harang off guard. Thinking to herself, she finds it hard to believe that it's Anatol, known as the GOAT, the legend of Ultimate Fighter. She then thinks that unlike Anatol, who's textbook perfect, she couldn't read Do-hyuk's pattern at all. In a suspicious tone, she thinks to herself that there was no fixed pattern to Do-hyuk's attack, finding it hard to believe. With a bit of worry showing on her face now, she thinks that maybe if that's the case, then Do-hyuk was reacting in real time to her movements. While still staring at Do-hyuk, she thinks to herself that it's absurd. Such a thing goes beyond the realm of gaming, and such a person couldn't possibly exist. While still in the flashback, Do-hyuk compliments Harang on her playstyle and asks her about her tier. With a confused yet pissed-off look, she says that he should have already realized after fighting her. The viewers suddenly pass a comment making fun of how she's just a lowly transcendent. Agitated by their comment, she tells them to shut up. Even then, the viewers continue to troll her. Now agitated, she points her finger towards Do-hyuk and asks him if he's an ex-pro or a current pro, to which Do-hyuk, unable to hear her, asks what she's saying. Irritated by Do-hyuk, she tells him to just hurry up and accept her revenge request, as Do-hyuk just stands there looking as if he's thinking something. Clearly agitated again after he rejected her revenge request, she says that he already knows who she is and came to specifically target her. Pissed off, she says how there's no one on the Korean server who uses harangue so well like her. Standing in front of her confidently, Do-hyuk tells her his nickname, which she didn't seem to understand what he just said. She falls to her knees, yelling that she's definitely going to find him, and so the flashback ends. The viewers continue to make fun of her as she kneels there, screaming at the top of her lungs, saying how mad she is, with tears falling down from her eyes in anger. Sweating that she'll catch that guy and make him quit gaming for life, she too logs out. A few hours later, Do-hyuk returns to the lobby of his capsule. Tired after continuously playing 14 consecutive matches, he asks the computer to show him his total record. The computer then shows him his total record with 14 matches, 14 wins and 0 losses. Looking at it, Do-hyuk says that the overall level is low, except for the first one. He thinks of ranked matches, how the opponents he faced so far leave fatal openings with just 1 or 2 feints. Remembering how he's in diamond rank now, and that there are 2 more ranks above it, he gets excited thinking of the opponents he might meet after reaching the highest rank. Remembering his fight with his first opponent, the sword girl Harang, he decides to add them as a friend. Then suddenly a notification window pops over his head, showing that Jian is inviting him to It Kills 2, seeing that he remembers that today he's supposed to stream with her. Realizing that it's already late, he hurries up and accepts her invitation to join her in the game, It Kills 2. Do-hyuk and Jian both appear together in the underground sewer they logged out in last time, followed by different comments from their viewers cheering for them. Greeting everyone with a wink, Jian welcomes her viewers into her stream, while Do-hyuk stands beside her looking up at the comments. A viewer then asks, pointing towards Do-hyuk, if he's the axe murderer standing beside her. Seeing that, Jian graciously introduces Do-hyuk to her viewers, introducing him while calling him nicknames Axe Murderer, which makes him look at her judgingly. Hearing the nickname Axe Murderer, he asks what's it about, to which Jian turns around and tells him that the kills he did during his previous gameplay in It Kills 2 is going viral on all the forums. With glimmering eyes, she turns around speaking of today's content, and Do-hyuk stands at the back expressionless on how fast Jian's expression changed. She then asks Do-hyuk to put his one hand up holding his axe, to which he awkwardly complies. Holding his axe up in one hand, weirded out by it, Do-hyuk stands there as Jian continues with her announcement that today's content will be of Do-hyuk's clearing It Kills 2, calling it the Axe of Madness Show. Looking at Do-hyuk, Jian points towards the dead body of the chaos monsters lying in front of them, reminding him of when they stopped after hunting chaos last time. Looking excited and enthusiastic, she announces to the viewers that this time they're attempting to clear the game It Kills 2, which they couldn't finish last time. Jian then turns around to face Do-hyuk, saying it's about time. Do-hyuk, gritting his teeth, holds his axes in an attacking stance, which makes Jian think that he's trying to attack her. With a horizontal slash, Jian quickly ducks, letting out a surprised cry. With the axe hitting one of the many monsters gathering behind Jian stands there with her hands put up in a blocking stance, as she misunderstood Do-hyuk trying to attack her. These monsters are a special creature called Sucker, with Do-hyuk's axe sticking out of a sucker's head as it fell on the corpse of the chaos monster. Many other suckers swarm around the corpse of the chaos monster, snarling at Do-hyuk and Jian. Do-hyuk suddenly then dashes forward, kicking on the sewage water where he stood, saying he'll take care of these mobs. A sucker moves forward, putting one arm up in an attacking position. Do-hyuk's hand reaches out to its face, grabbing it. The force at which they meet, his hand and the sucker's face, results in breaking a couple of its teeth. Cutting off its head with his axe as soon as he grabbed its head, then 2 more suckers jumped in, trying to surround Do-hyuk laterally. As one sucker lunges in towards Do-hyuk, swinging its sharp claws at Do-hyuk, he quickly ducks, avoiding getting hit. Then he spins around on one leg, cutting off that sucker's head smoothly, while he's still holding onto the first sucker's head. Another sucker jumps in with its arms open in an attempt to capture Do-hyuk, gritting his teeth while holding up the severed head in hand. He then throws the severed head at the sucker who is trying to capture him. With the severed head hitting its face, it gets knocked back. In a swinging stance, Do-hyuk yells out to the sucker to die, to which the monster tries to block the attack. Do-hyuk finishes it up in one strike, seeing that the other suckers seem to have gotten agitated by Do-hyuk's actions, with one sucker pointing at Do-hyuk while standing on the chaos monster's corpse. Do-hyuk notices the monsters swarming around him. He suddenly vanishes in front of the monsters, which puts them in confusion, seeing how their enemy just vanished into thin air. Suddenly appearing in front of one sucker, making him flinch, with his arms ready to swing and slash through it. He cuts through its neck, severing its head from its body as its head spins in air after getting cut off, now, with Do-hyuk being right where his other axe is, embedded into the skull of a sucker. Pulling it out of that sucker's skull, blood starts dripping down from it. Having retrieved his other axe, standing over the corpse of the chaos monster, Do-hyuk says that he has lengthened the fight long enough, and that it's about time to finish it up. 4 suckers dash towards Do-hyuk suddenly. A sucker attempts to attack Do-hyuk from behind with its fangs. Gritting his teeth, Do-hyuk murmurs to start off where they left it last time. Using 2 skills, whirlwind and charge at the same time, he dashes forward, cutting through the sucker's butter. After using both whirlwind and charge together at the same time, just like the last time, supporting himself by putting his hand on the wall, he starts to vomit. A viewer comments on Do-hyuk motion sickness still being the same as ever, to which he replies of having gotten used to it. Standing straight, he checks again if he got them all. Looking up at the comments of the viewers, Do-hyuk says that they don't seem that tough as how they die so easily in a single hit when he aims for their weak spots. The viewers say that the suckers don't die easily even when they are shot with a grenade launcher, but Do-hyuk was able to kill them so easily because he kept going for their necks. Reading through their comments, Do-hyuk realizes and speaks up, saying that the mobs are so designed to be taken down the way he did, making it so easy. The viewers start complaining how overpowered Do-hyuk is, how they normally need to take out a grenade launcher if even 2 of them show up, and that sneaking up from behind and stabbing them is their best bet. Do-hyuk says that from what he judged from their patterns was that they just keep charging straight ahead, and from that they can easily predict the attack, dodge it, then slash them. Letting out a sigh, Jian looks at Do-hyuk thinking that he wasn't usually this dense, and it's not possible for normal to follow through his complex movements just because he tells them how to. She continues on speaking to herself, how a genius can understand the struggles of ordinary people. Well, as long as the stream is entertaining, nothing else matters to her much. Pushing Do-hyuk forward, she tells him that they shouldn't waste any more time here and clear the next stage. Do-hyuk reminds the viewers one last time to remember his advice, it being slash, stab, swoosh. A person with his hands up from his elbow vertically blocks attacks. The person who's attacking is none other than the sword girl Harang. She suddenly dashes forward in a simple jump towards her opponent. As she swings her sword attacking her opponent simply blocks it with his armor-cladded arm. He then pushes back her sword with a punch to it. Gathering blue-colored energy in his hand, in a swinging position, yells out to her to die. Dodging his attack by jumping above him, her opponent's attack hits the ground, shattering it. Harang acts annoyed at how her opponent hasn't died yet despite her attacks. Harang activates her skill, Dance of Death, with her afterimages surrounding him completely, stabbing him from all directions. A notification window pops up announcing that the sword girl has won. While sheathing her sword, she says that this opponent was a bit tricky. Thinking to herself, she says that Dance of Death is even effective on high tier. Her hand trembles as she thinks about how that skill didn't work on Do-hyuk that time. Still unsure whether that guy, Do-hyuk, is a current pro or a former pro, or if maybe he's a pro from Iron Fist instead of UF. Harang acts sure about one thing. That is, she thinks that Do-hyuk is one of those competing for the world's best title along with Anatol, the one and only GOAT in UF. A notification pops up saying that Harang has one friend request. She decides to open it. Soon after, she lets out a surprised voice which makes her viewers excited about knowing what she saw. Gritting her teeth, spitting out a curse, her body suddenly starts to tremble. She fires up in anger, misunderstanding that Do-hyuk changed his nickname to, I guess that's it, simply to mock her. With an irritated look on his face, Do-hyuk stretches his ear with his pinky finger. John turns, looking at Do-hyuk over her shoulder, asking him to hurry up, to which Do-hyuk asks if someone is bad-mouthing him as his ears seem to be itching. Standing in front of a huge iron door, John tells Do-hyuk that the next boss they're going to face is on the other side of this door. Having thoroughly read the strategy guide this time, she looks around for a tile on the wall and presses it. The iron door then opens up. Walking in front of Do-hyuk, John walks through the iron door, taking a step on the stairs. Having thoroughly read the strategy guide this time, she seems to have adequate knowledge about the terrain around them beforehand. She continues to lead Do-hyuk as they walk up the stairs, reaching the iron bars. Beyond the iron bars lies a large horde of zombies. Zombies swarm the entire room beyond those iron bars. John continues that among those zombies lies the last gatekeeper protecting the final boss, Murderer. A viewer suddenly informs how he can't find the gatekeeper amongst the zombie horde, John. Noticing that 2 remarks how the gatekeeper should be in the center of the horde. Noticing something at the center, she speaks again that whatever that is at the center doesn't look like a zombie. After getting a proper look at it, Do-hyuk says that there's an old lady in a wheelchair. The viewers start acting shocked after seeing that there was indeed an old lady on a wheelchair in the center. Acting meek and scared, calling that old lady Chloe, she grabs onto Do-hyuk's arm, which surprises Do-hyuk hearing that the old lady's name is Chloe. Interpreting whatever he can from both Jian and the viewer's reaction, he thinks to himself that this old lady might be a boss monster, probably the first person infected with the mutant virus. With a serious look on his face, he thinks to himself that must be why she can control other zombies. He goes into flashback remembering how China was divided into 6 countries after the outbreak, and about a guy who used to rule over one of those countries. He remembers how that person awakened a zombie virus-like ability, allowing him to make infected people do his bidding. He continues as to how that guy used his zombie virus-like ability to fight with Chen Tao, the strongest in China. He remembers how that guy was utterly defeated by Chen Tao, with that incident confirming that transcendent class hunters are immune to both poison and viruses. Done reminiscing on the past, Do-hyuk points towards that old man, asking if that old lady is the boss monster he needs to crush. Asking such an obvious question makes the viewers eager to pull his leg, and so they made fun of him by being sarcastic, which Do-hyuk couldn't understand at all. Jian speaks up saying that if they don't save Chloe within the allotted time, then she'll continue to age like that the mutation from the virus manifested as aging in her. Looking at Jian, Do-hyuk asks if their clear was really so slow. Jian replies with the exact opposite, that they were actually incredibly fast. Turning to her viewers, she asks them if they know how this happened. To her question, each replied with having no idea, that if the difficulty setting AI just turned crazy. A viewer then comments that it's because they didn't spray the serum, seeing that, realizing their mistake, they just stand there, speechless. Other viewers add in that they were supposed to spray the serum with a sprinkler to slow down the infection process. Embarrassed by having gotten blinded by the mission rewards, they totally forgot they had to spray the serum with a sprinkler. As the viewers keep pointing out their mistakes, Do-hyuk steps forward, saying that it's his fault for being so inattentive, that it's because of him Chloe's condition has gotten worse. Having gotten the gist of it, he sneers at the story of him having to fight his ex-wife and is determined to defeat her. Jian, deciding to speak up, says that Chloe was the root cause of the whole mess since the beginning, stopping in between to ask the viewers if they mind hearing spoilers, to which they react positively. She narrates that Chloe was a researcher working on biochemical weapons within military organizations. The mutant strains causing all this chaos was created by her and her organization to develop bioterrorism weapons. She then decided on joining hands with a rival organization, so she secretly took out the mutant strain to sell it to them. Having caught in the act, she ended up hiding in here while being chased by her original organization, leading to her getting infected by the mutant strain pathogen in the process, Jian says, summing it up. Chloe is both the culprit and the root cause of these chaotic events. Being a simpleton that he is, Do-hyuk says that it's all over once they get rid of Chloe, to which Jian agrees. Energetic as ever, Do-hyuk asks Jian to open up the bars and get ready to enter. Jian presses a red button located to the side of the entrance wall. Do-hyuk stands in front of the iron bars as it gets pulled up. In a ready-to-fight stance, Do-hyuk announces that the Grand Acts of Madness show now begins. All the zombies run towards Do-hyuk, pushing against each other. Dodging the first time, he cuts off his head, gritting his teeth. He says that this is the second enhanced zombie rush following the previous one he faced, easily cutting through their necks like paper. Do-hyuk says that if this is how easy their last stand would be, then the boss fight is going to be a piece of cake for him. As the zombies keep rushing at Do-hyuk, the viewers comment in between how large the zombie horde is compared to the last time, and they also warn him that even a slight bite could cause status effects. Continuing, the viewers speak that despite Do-hyuk being extremely skillful, it'll still be difficult for him to fight the boss monster right after fighting so many mobs. Continuing to dash forward, Do-hyuk cuts through zombies with each step he takes while the viewers continue cheering him on. Dodging a zombie's claw, he says that it's a bit more risky using whirlwind charge in reality mode than in game mode. Do-hyuk moves forward, slashing through another zombie while the viewers continue showering him with praise. Gritting his teeth while he fights, Do-hyuk says that if the goal is to eliminate the final boss, then fighting the mobs can be avoided, and right after saying so, instead of fighting the zombies, he uses them as steps for him to use and avoid to reach the final boss, taking the shortest path possible, Chloe. With a final leap, he jumps towards Chloe. With her eyes starting to glow red, she stands up from the wheelchair, letting out a really loud screech, knocking back every other zombie surrounding her, even cracking up the floor. With that single screech, she blew off almost half of the building they were all in, fighting. With lightning falling down at a distance, Chloe stands there as the building is still crumbling apart after the sonic screech. The viewers notice something moving under the pile of zombies, anticipating that it's Do-hyuk, that Do-hyuk is still alive despite that attack earlier. A hand emerges from underneath a pile of zombie corpses, pushing off a zombie corpse in its path. Holding onto Jian in his arms, Do-hyuk rises from beneath the pile of zombies. Viewers are astonished by this feat of Do-hyuk, continuing to shower him with praise. Looking around at his surroundings, Do-hyuk remarks that now only the final boss remains, since that sonic screech wiped out most of the zombies. Putting his confident smile back on, Do-hyuk says that he can easily take down the boss in no time if he just keeps an eye out for an attack like the previous one. And so the second phase of the boss fight starts, with an anomaly of a boss monster suddenly emerging out of Chloe's body and turning into a disgusting mass, with multiple eyes and 2 mouths. This monster is called Black-Faced Chloe, Mass of Bacteria. Suddenly, 3 more different monsters pop up and appear standing in front of Black-Faced Chloe facing Do-hyuk. These 3 monsters are the murderers who were supposed to be in the center of the zombie horde in the beginning. Jian finds this level of difficulty unbelievable. Normally, it's just one murderer, but now it's murderers together with the boss monster that Do-hyuk will have to fight. Do-hyuk holds out his axe in front of Jian, indirectly telling her to stay back as the viewers continue to comment how the AI has gotten mad seeing someone clear the same without using a single round of ammo, with just a pair of axes nonetheless. Looking at the viewers, Jian explains how difficult Easy Chloe is despite being the final boss, and how difficult the murderers are as special entities, including they turn invisible when attacking, making them really tricky enemies to fight. A viewer then comments saying that shooting them with a gun makes the hit area visible, and that how they'll be able to clear it. The other viewers then fill in that such a thing isn't possible, as there's a melee weapons-only mission active right now, to which both Do-hyuk and Jian react noddingly. Another viewer speaks up saying if that's how it is, then can't they just have Jian shoot, to which both of them act really surprised having not considered that. Considering the viewer's words, Jian realizes how she's been making Do-hyuk do all the work, thinks if he tries she can hold off at least the tricky murderer off with the gun. Do-hyuk places his hands on the gun as Jian grabs it in her hands. Taking the gun off her hands, he crushes it right where he grabbed it, pissed off with her thinking of trying to help. To that with a gun, he tells her to simply just sit and watch from the sidelines, without trying to do unnecessary things. Seething through his teeth, he presses hard Jian's forehead with his finger, as he reminds her that her not doing anything is much more helpful to him than her trying to do something. Realizing her deeds, Jian says how the time she shot him in the head was just a mistake she made accidentally. The viewers start to troll her. How that one mistake put a hole in Do-hyuk's head, clearly annoyed, with tears welling up in her eyes from the trolls. She yells out that it happened accidentally. She didn't exactly mean for that to happen. Letting out a smile, Do-hyuk thinks to himself that Jian was simply trying to do her best, and that she should also enjoy playing the game. Putting a zombie corpse on his shoulder, he reminds Jian of the grenades they farmed earlier, telling her to throw them on his signal. The viewers make fun of Jian for not even knowing how to use grenades, to which she sharply reacts as to knowing how to at least use grenades. Snickering from behind, Do-hyuk remarks that how Jian isn't not stupid. Jian, annoyedly at the viewers for making fun of her, shouts at them telling them to stop it already, while Do-hyuk gets ready to fight. Dashing forward, looking ahead, he loudly tells Jian to be ready for his signal. Seeing Do-hyuk dashing towards them, all the 3 murderers leap forward, turning their invisible mode on. Do-hyuk shouts out to Jian, giving her the signal. Jian throws the grenade towards Do-hyuk, having removed the safety pin on it. The grenade slows down right over Do-hyuk's head while he's still in motion. The grenade then goes off with a loud blast, forcibly turning their stealth mode off, making them visible. Crying, Jian screams, apologizing how her hands skipped while the viewers continue trolling Jian's clumsiness. Standing on one knee, having blocked the grenade's blast with that zombie's corpse, he picked up then, knowing that Jian is surely going to somehow mess it up somehow. Throwing that zombie's corpse off, he dashes and then jumps right at one of the murderers, ready to swing his axe at it. He stabs the murderer's eye in his first swing at it, making it cry out in pain, splattering its blood around. Pushing against it, he jumps backward, using its mouth as a foothold. Another murderer comes rushing at Do-hyuk while he's midair. While still in midair, he senses a murderer coming up from behind him with its mouth open. He skillfully dodges the murderer in midair, ending up over its head still in midair. Using the force from being in air, he attacks the murderer he just dodged with his axe, confused as his axe didn't penetrate through its scales. While standing on a murderer's body, he senses another murderer sneaking up on him from behind. With no way to dodge its attacks, Do-hyuk decides to take the blue head-on while trying to block it, getting knocked back by its sheer force. He skids through the ground, tearing it as he skids backward in a blocking stance. With blood dripping from the one side of his mouth, with an excited grin, he says it's getting troublesome. Wiping the blood off, he finishes his sentence as to it's fun because it is getting a bit troublesome. Maniacally smiling, Do-hyuk dashes forward, saying it's about time to have some fun. Assessing the situation in front of his eyes, with one murderer unable to turn invisible with its eye damaged while the other 2 have already turned invisible. comparing the murderers to the alien species from his life before regressing, as how they also could become invisible by changing their molecular structure, allowing light to pass through them, thinks to himself as he continues running towards them that these snakes are a piece of cake compared to the alien species. Closing his eyes while he tries to remember how it felt when he eliminated those alien species, running towards black-faced Chloe and the blinded murderer with his eyes closed. Having regained that feeling, he senses the invisible murderers with his eyes closed. He thinks to himself that there's two in front and two in back of him. He dodges both of the murderer's attacks easily with his eyes still closed. He then lands on the head of the blinded murderer, saying that this guy is going to be his first target. Holding his axe up in a swinging stance, he speaks that not sure if the game implemented that detail. Swinging his axe down, he attacks its weak spot, the reverse scale on the back of its head, as he finishes his sentence saying that the developers surely paid attention to the small details. Concentrating his attacks at the point where it had its reversed scale, he cuts off the murderer's head with continuous strikes, saying that in situations like this, monster reptiles are one-hit kills for him. Black-faced Chloe turns towards Do-hyuk, extending her whip-like arms towards him. With its whip-like arms attacking him, he smoothly dodges every attack thrown his way. While he continues to dodge Chloe's attacks, a murderer tries to sneak attack him from behind, which Do-hyuk easily notices. Turning to face it, dodging its attempt to attack, Do-hyuk smashes its face down to the ground heavily. Do-hyuk then puts his axes inside its mouth, facing up, stabbing the inside of its mouth with his axe, forcibly keeping its mouth open as he pulls on its upper jaw with his axes, keeping them open as Chloe attacks at Do-hyuk's direction with its whip-like arms, with its open mouth acting as shield for Do-hyuk. Doing that, she both protects himself from the whip-like attacks while killing another murderer through Chloe. While he does that, the last murderer sneaks up from behind him with its mouth open to bite down on Do-hyuk. And so it lunges forward, biting down on the neck of the murderer Do-hyuk was standing on. Dodging that attack, still in air, right above the last murderer, he mentions about the weaknesses of reptilian monsters, both inside their mouth and the opposite side of its back scales, that is, its belly, while still being in mid-air. Falling down, he skillfully cuts through the last murderer's neck in a single strike. He safely lands on the ground with the lady murderer falling to the ground with a loud noise, defeated. He then dashes forward towards the last monster standing, black-faced Chloe, mass of bacteria. He then jumps and appears right in front of Chloe with his axe ready to swing down at it. Dashing forward, Do-hyuk cuts through black-faced Chloe, splitting it into two from between, vertically. John, delighted, leaps towards Do-hyuk, saying that the game is cleared. They won. Looking all happy, Jian speaks to her viewers, showing her gratitude towards her viewers for their donations, and that she's really glad that they enjoyed their stream, while Do-hyuk looks at his hand, with a slightly concerned look on his face. Tightening his grip on his axe, he thinks to himself, comparing how the Ultimate Fighter match that he played was more interesting, and how, right when he was just getting into it while fighting black-faced Chloe, it soon ended.